just a couple of MFAs in digital arts at the time, and that's in the entire country. Most commonly, it was in computer science, which is what my degrees are in. But I've always really been interested in more creating the visuals than the programming, and programming has always been kind of in the service of creating the visuals. And it's kind of interesting that since finishing my studies, I've never held a job title that was programmer. It's always been technical artist or something of that style. So actually at Pixar, my business card read cartoon physicist. Let's see. There we go. So the Master of Fine Arts in Digital Arts is a graduate degree, and the students coming in, we look for them to be artists, but not necessarily in digital media. And through their studies at DigiPen, they'll, both in their coursework and working on their thesis, they become skilled in some aspect of digital arts. And we do focus on kind of readiness for the game industry or for the animation industry and related fields. We also have people that are doing sculpture work that may be used in toys or other kinds of things like that. Say at Funko, which is a toy company up in Everett. But the we focus really on what to do with the tools, and of course you'll learn how to run software, but it's really what you want to do with the software that is most important. So in the MFA, it's designed as a 2-year program. Not everybody does finish in 2 years, but we have several who are just now wrapping up their 2nd year and are doing thesis defense right now. So the in your 1st year, the coursework will be more foundational and trying to get everybody up onto a level platform. And it'll also be thesis prep, because that'll be your 2nd year as you're moving forward, is work on the thesis, which is basically a very individualized statement as an artist and an investigation in solving problems in a unique way. So you'll be thinking about your thesis in the 1st year. By the end of your 1st year, we help prep you so that you can have a proposal that you put forward. And then the 2nd year really is where you start to specialize in producing that work and in going for elective coursework that supports those studies. While you're studying at DigiPen, you'll have a lot of opportunities to work with the faculty, and we do have a lot of full-time faculty that are here, and many of the courses are taught by the full-time faculty, and other faculty come from neighboring industry, and those we refer to as the adjunct professors. So they bring a very current knowledge base and approach to what's going on, and also allow for an introduction to current industry practices and opportunities at networking and finding others that might be interested or helpful in furthering your studies. While you're doing your thesis work, you'll have a primary thesis advisor that you'll work with, as well as a secondary advisor or mentor that is working with you in that very individualized study. So the question is, who's this program made for, and when's the right time to do it? Well, some of our students come in straight from an undergraduate program. Others have had some experience in the field. and are looking to formalize their learning. Still others may have completed their undergraduate and found that maybe the education that they have didn't quite prepare them for the kind of job or income that they were looking for, and they might look to the MFA as an opportunity to get more education that's focused, on working in the industry. So the kinds of people that we have into the program, as I've said, first off, you need to be an artist. And there are a number of ways that people might be artists. The most straightforward would be coming from a Bachelor of Fine Arts program where you have a lot of preparation and study in doing figure drawing and design, composition and color, and things like that. But we also allow for more non-traditional applicants, and there is no requirement that your undergraduate degree has to be a BFA. It may be a BA or some other related degree. However, in order to produce the portfolio, you will need to have some kind of background in art that will have prepared you to be in an art studio and to understand how to create artistic works. We've recently been trying to make room in the program as well for other kinds of design fields, such as architecture. And we don't have an architecture degree, but the idea that in games or in animation that people can specialize in designing environments for habitation by game characters and such is a very real idea. So we'll talk a little bit about how you would account for that in your application if you have one of these more non-traditional backgrounds. So once you complete your studies at DigiPenn, what are the kinds of things that you might do with your degree? Well, as I've said, we do target placement within the industry, especially with games. As Natalie said earlier, there is a huge game industry here in the Seattle area. But the skills that you're learning are also applicable to related industries, and including the animation industry. But being a terminal degree in MFA, teaching is also a possibility at the collegiate level. And there's also the question of, how do you stand out with the graduate degree? Well, the main answer to that is through your thesis work, right? The thesis is a project that that you devise under the guidance of the faculty and investigate a challenge, a problem within digital arts, and through those investigations and production of original work, you demonstrate kind of your ability to be creative and to think outside of the box. And in creating a project like that, going to an employer, they can see that this is somebody who doesn't just apply formulas to things, but actually thinks about what are the formulas, how can we change the formulas, how can we do something new and different. So there are a number of steps in applying to DigiPenn for the MFA, and so it all starts with the application, which can be found online. The elements that you'll need to submit are listed here on the screen. So there's the application itself uh, uh, and the fee. There's a statement of purpose. So that is a personal statement from you as to what you hope to gain out of a coming to DigiPen. What is your background? What motivates you? All of these things, and please look at the description on the website as to particular elements that you might want to address in your statement of purpose. You also need to get some letters of recommendation. These should be from some of the faculty that have taught you previously, that can speak to your skill as an artist, your tenacity as a student. We do look for a minimum of a 3.0 in your bachelor's degree. That's not a hard and fast rule, but we do try to target that. And we'll see the coursework that comes through through your transcripts. That'll, of course, have to be submitted. But one of the biggest elements for all of this is, of course, the MFA portfolio. And I say that the 3.0 grade point average is not hard and fast. And that's because the portfolio is actually the largest weight that's given within the evaluation of your application. So when you are preparing your portfolio, you'll see on the website that there are 3 categories that you can choose from. One of character artist, concept artist, or environment artist. And I can talk about later descriptions of what those mean, but essentially it's, are you interested in characters and have you done a lot of figure studies previously? Or do you think of yourself more as an illustrator and developing overall concepts for scenes? Or is it more of a designer? Environment artist would be perhaps closer to an architectural background. But regardless of your choice in portfolio submission, the course requirements and elective options are the same across the board. The portfolio choice is really to establish the guidelines in terms of what pieces we're looking for in order to evaluate your skills. So here's a quick summary chart of how the different portfolio choices pan out. So in the first column, you can see there's character artist. So one of the most important things for a character artist is that you can draw characters and draw figures. So we'll be looking for a series of figure drawing submissions. In addition, drawing perspective, like an interior, exterior, will be part of what we look for. And your mastery of color and composition is the last section that we look for. Notice that environment design is not required in a character artist's application portfolio. But if you do have environment design work, then you could submit that as well, and it would be considered in range of skill. For a concept artist, we look for everything, but maybe not as much in terms of figure drawing, and we do look for some design work, but color and composition is a place where we would expect you to have strength. For an environment artist, we don't ask for figure drawing, although that definitely would be a bonus for you, but instead the heavier weight is on environment design, looking for 3 submissions there, and color and composition is also of importance. And I can talk more about what each one of these submission requirements are. But if you think of environment design, if you were say from an architecture background, then that might be plan views and section views, auxiliary views, 3D renderings, those types of things that would all convey one environment that had been designed, and that would be one design. So we would be looking for 3 separate environments that had been designed and the supporting imagery that presents it. So here, this is a breakdown of the details of, for example, in the character art, when I talk about the 7 figure submissions, that we would have 2 pages of gesture drawings and 5 drawings. 3 would be an intermediate pose and 2 would be a sustained pose. What we call gesture drawings are short drawings, say under 5 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time to really get much down within the figure. And then you would take 6 images from figure drawing sessions and composite those together onto 1 page. So we would look for 2 pages with around 6 drawings on each page. The intermediate pose we might think of as like a 20 or 30-minute session with a figure, and that can be either a portrait or a full body work. The sustained pose would be something that would be a couple hours, 3 hours, and that is going to be a lot more refined and studied in what you're looking for. The perspective drawings are from observation, an interior or an exterior. So an interior could be you sitting at home on your couch and drawing the scene that you that's in front of you, or an exterior going outside and you know, drawing the place that you live in, or something like that. But one of the key points is that these figure, perspective, and at least 2 of the 4 composition and color pieces must be observational, meaning that they're drawn from real objects in real life, not from imagination, not from a photograph or from 2D reference. Of those composition and color pieces, as I said, 2 need to be observational, at least 2 in color. All 4 could be in color, but at least 2 need to be. And then the range of skill is where you have an opportunity to show us what you do best. Again, for concept artists, many of the definitions are already established here. It's just that the counts on what needs to be done are different. The new item is under perspective, there's environment, and this is a design. And so when I talk about a design, I'm talking about a constructed space design, which is maybe a building or a designed environment or something like that, where you have to think about characters existing within that space, or people existing within that space. An environment artist will have optional figure drawings, and we'll need to have both an interior and exterior perspective drawing to show understanding of that. And then the big thing, as I mentioned, is that we want 3 constructed environment designs that you would be submitting. Composition and color is also important for an environment artist. So we would be looking for that kind of work, and we do want, again, to see observational skills in the work that is represented, and then combined with range of skill. So here on the slides are more detailed descriptions. These came from the web page, so you can go to the web page to remind yourself of the descriptions that I've been going through. And so when we talk about these figure drawings, we are talking about drawings of the human figure, of a nude figure. The sustained pose may be either nude or clothed. And if you have challenges in finding model sessions or the right kinds of drawings to submit for these figure drawings, then you can always contact us through the admissions office. So again, these are descriptions that I've been talking about of the perspective drawings and design work. And the fact that observational drawings are required for figure and for the perspective drawings and for half of the color and composition works, meaning that it should be from direct observation of real subjects, whereas freeform drawings, which are what you could have for some of your color and composition pieces, as well as your range of skills pieces, and those are works from your imagination. But still, we ask they not be from two-dimensional references such as photographs. If you are say doing a drawing of a sculpture or something like that, or you are somehow referencing other work, then you should cite your reference in the notes. So range of skill. So this is where you provide work that really shows who you are, and there are a variety of things that you might submit. This list is not intended to be exhaustive as to the only things that we'll consider. You show us what it is that you do, but examples are of general work: painting, sculpture, animation, figure animal studies, architectural renderings, character design, landscape studies. You may do cafe sketches or other kinds of everyday drawings, or you might have digital work, whether that's illustration work in a program like Photoshop, or 3D digital work in a program such as Maya or 3ds Max or ZBrush or those kinds of things. If you do have an animation reel, then we'd be happy to see that, and we'll assess that in various categories, including personality, physicality, things like that. So here are some image examples that you can see of some of the students in our program. So Geoff Kaiser is nearing completion of his degree, and this was an illustration that he did for a course assignment. And Simon Burke, who's first year student in the MFA.
And they'll be with us in just a few moments here. So this is your chance to ask any questions to our program director, Mark. So if you have any questions at all for him, if you just wanted to type those in the chat window there, then we'll be able to go over those. This will be your last chance to talk directly with Mark. So if you have any questions about the portfolio or coursework or preparation for it, anything like that, now's a great time to chat on those questions. And Mark, I did have a question. You mentioned if they have an animation reel, is that something that they can also upload through the same format, or is that something they need to do differently?
No, they can do that through SlideRoom. SlideRoom is a web platform that we use for uploading the portfolio, and it can accept movie files. Okay. So that's something that you certainly can include. I'll also talk just to make clear in terms of the kinds of skills that we look for in applicants. You'll notice as I was describing the portfolios, it didn't mention digital work such as 2D or 3D digital work in the range of skills, but digital work was not in the required portion of the portfolio. So if you do have digital experience, then that's great. We'd love to see it, particularly if it's strong work. But we've had a number of students come into the program without digital work previously, that they come in as traditional media artists, and they do quite well. So in semester one, we presume nothing about your digital skills. What we do presume is that you have artistic skills.
And Mark, I know that I've spoken with you before about, we talked about what is a good fit for this program. And could you talk a little bit about sometimes where you found where students might be looking for a different career opportunity? We've talked about comics before, other things like that. Is there any tips you have for students for things to keep in mind that might indicate that they're not a good fit for this in terms of career aspirations?
Well, let's see. Obviously, this is not as much a gallery art kind of program. This really is tied to more production art and working on teams. In all my time working at Pixar and everything, we described the projects there as being team art projects. And that we're making an art project involving 200 people, and the end result is a film. And so to that end, actually, for the master students in your second semester, one of the courses that you would be taking is a team art production course. And the idea being that you start out with a storyline that's provided by the professor, and your job as a team is to figure out what skills you have and what kind of things that you can produce. But you'll be doing design work for characters, for environments, for storytelling, and then carrying that design work into creating actual assets, meaning models that are built in 3 dimensions and maybe, for example, carried into a game engine or just built as 3-dimensional objects. But you'll be operating as a team and creating your own milestones and relying on each other to shepherd your way through the process.
Thanks for explaining that. So we have our student panel that'll be coming in just a few seconds here. So this is the last opportunity. If you have any questions, if you want to just type those into the chat window, it'll be about 10 seconds. It looks like we are all good on questions, but I'll just give you a couple seconds there if you have anything else to ask Mark. I see a question that just came in. Is there any scenario in which you, sorry, let me move that over, advise a potential applicant towards DigiPen BFA in digital art and animation instead of the MFA? Great question.
Okay. So sure, there is one of them is that if you don't have the requirements for the MFA, for example, not having completed a bachelor's degree would be one, or not having a portfolio of sufficient quality to get into the MFA. You might think about the BFA. Obviously the BFA is designed as a 4-year program, and you'll notice in the titles that the MFA is described as MFA in Digital Arts, whereas the BFA is Digital Art and Animation. And so the difference is intentional in terms of leaving the animation off on the MFA, because what we don't want to claim is that in the span of a 2-year program that we can teach you how to be an animator and also the rest of digital arts. That's simply not something that is plausible. So if you don't have animation experience and that's really what you want to learn, then the BFA may be a better fit for you. Or if you don't have the art skills, then you might think about the BFA. Another thing that you might think about is if your portfolio is not quite there, is to go to an atelier for additional study before preparing your portfolio. And we've had a number of people do that coming into our program. One example, actually, you'll talk with Geoff in just a minute. And Geoff first applied to the MFA, and his portfolio was found lacking. What he did instead was he signed up at DigiPen in non-matriculated studies, meaning that he was not officially enrolled in the degree program, but he was allowed to take courses that he could demonstrate enough to satisfy the prerequisites for. And so he spent actually a year outside of the degree program improving his art skills, and then was formally admitted into the master's program. So that's another kind of option in you know, what might you do if the MFA is not quite the correct fit?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking that. So we're out of time with Mark, so I'll just thank him for coming. If you have more questions for him, I will have his information on our last slide as well as mine. So if you have anything else that you want to go over, I know that Mark is always happy to look at portfolios and do other things in a number of different venues. So if you want more assistance, just let us know, and we will welcome in our current student panel now. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. As Natalie said, if you do have questions, don't hesitate to send them in, and we'll try and get you a response as soon as we can.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll just give us a minute to get resettled here. We have, next up we have Geoff and Simon, who will be coming in next. As you can see, Geoff is a second-year student and Simon is a first-year student. And if you have any questions that you want to think of to start asking our current students, this really is a conversation for you to have with them. So I have a few questions that I'll be asking them, but if you have anything that you want to know, please ask them. That's really what we want to make sure we're answering are your questions for them. Hi, welcome. So if you guys just want to introduce yourselves, we can let our prospective students know who you are.
Sure. So my name is Geoff Kaiser. I'm a second-year MFA. This is my third year at the school. I did an independent year, sort of working effectively as an undergraduate before becoming full-time as a student.
Hi, my name is Simon Burke. I am technically considered a first-year MFA. I'm also part-time, and I have been taking classes as a non-matriculated and transferred a few of those credits in. But, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So how did you both learn about DigiPen, and how did you know that it was the right fit for you?
So DigiPen is a fairly well-known school within the industry. I knew about it sort of as a consequence of that, of talking with people in the industry during my undergrad. I had a couple of friends that went here. So when I was looking for a graduate program, I was looking around, and DigiPen caught my eye since they have specifically an MFA program targeted towards what I wanted to do. I didn't really feel like doing an undergrad again. That was essentially the deciding factor.
Yeah, so after my undergrad, sorry, I'm supposed to look at this camera here. My apologies, everybody. So after my undergrad, I sort of drifted between just random jobs, and I wasn't sure where I could really apply my degree because it was mostly in traditional drawing and painting. After a while, I just found a job opportunity here at the school. And then when I came to visit the campus, I was kind of just blown away. So if anything, I would say the campus sort of recruited me just to see the quality of work and the type of work that I wanted to be doing in my undergrad, but I didn't have the opportunity to. So yeah, come to campus if you can.
Great. And could you guys talk a little bit about your lecture experience? We'll talk a little bit more about your projects after this, but what kind of classes are you taking and what are you mainly focusing on in those classes?
Simon, do you want to start that one?
Yeah, I can start this one. So you caught us at a fun time because we're actually in the middle of finals for this semester.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm finishing up a survey of digital media course, which is a new course that they just offered this semester. And it was actually really useful because we sort of surveyed all these different things that I had never been exposed to. So things like game engines, a little bit of ZBrush we got to play with. I actually did some 3D modeling. So it was just a lot of cool rapid fire opportunities without getting too in depth. But the hope was that we would be able to preview these technologies so that later on we could use them as tools towards working on our thesis. And so I found it incredibly useful just to have exposure to those. Other than that, I think this semester I took hard surface modeling, which if you're not comfortable with it, and then what I like about the school is the opportunity to work in different methodologies if you have that knowledge. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. I apologize.
No worries.
But yeah, so hard surface modeling and survey of digital media was this semester, and they were both pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the program is sort of constantly evolving. A lot of the stuff that Simon is working with wasn't there my first year. Like the survey course is brand new. As far as what you were asking specifically about the lectures, the teachers tend to try to keep those pretty short. So out of a 3-hour course, there'll be maybe an hour and a half tops of actual lecturing, because a lot of the courses are really focused around the actual doing of work. So for example, Matt Buckner, who's essentially our anatomy and biology professor, will spend at most half of the course sort of talking about specific parts of the human body, how things are connected, how things function, and then the rest of the time will be spent actually putting that into practice. So there's not much of sitting there listening. It's a lot more sort of working back and forth with the professor and actually working on projects.
So could you elaborate a little bit, both for you, on your projects? I know that there might be some overlap in those questions, but what are your experiences with your projects? What types of projects are you working on? Have you worked on teams much at all, or what's that been like for you?
Okay, I'm going to go through that a few sort of sections at a time. So many of the courses early on will have sort of smaller section projects. So something that you'll work on for a week or two, just to sort of get used to a specific thing, a specific idea, and then we need to cover a certain amount over the course of the semester. And the farther you go, the longer the projects get. So one of the courses that I'm in right now, we've had 3 projects all semester, essentially just sort of starting and then iterating on them from January all the way up until now. The advanced ZBrush course, he has us do a few exercises along the way, but essentially we have one character or a hero prop, whatever you want to do, that you start in week 1 and you finish in finals. And that's 90% of everything that you do in that course is working on the one thing. So it depends a little bit on what course you're taking, but essentially you're always sort of working towards a very specific end goal. I have had the chance to work on a couple of teams here. So I did one game project in my independent year, and then I did a game project this year. And it can be a bit of a roll of the dice, just like the quality of your team, the quality of your project, how well they work together. I've been extremely lucky and have worked with some incredibly talented people. And a lot of the projects here result in some just incredible work, especially for students. So it's a lot of fun. If you have the opportunity, I would definitely say you should work with a game team and just experience what that's like.
Awesome. Thanks, Geoff.
Neat. So I'm technically a first-year student, and my opportunities to actually work in groups with other MFAs is limited. Within the labs, it's nice because it has the context of interactions and being able to look at other people's stuff, and it's really cool just to see the stuff they make. But that's about the extent of my cooperative efforts. For my classwork, most of the time in introductory courses, you're trying to pick up a piece of software to be introduced to this. So you'll have a multitude of smaller assignments that you complete every week. You turn it in, you might critique it, and then you move on to the next one. As you get out of those introductory courses, you go into more project-based assignments. For instance, the hard surface class this time around, we had to build a vehicle and a character, and then if we had time for it, a prop at the end. So we are just graded on the final results of those 3 projects, essentially, and some of the milestones, because milestones are another kind of effective assignment that you have to be able to make in an industry job setting. So here it's really pushed that you sort of make those objectives work. But yeah, that's about it.
I will just throw in one of the courses that I was taking this semester is gesture drawing. So, in the midst of all of these long-term projects courses, because the professors for that believe that gesture drawing is almost entirely based on the amount that you do it and how much you practice it, we have to do at least a page of gesture drawings every day. And then we have portfolios that we submit every 2 weeks. So it's just a sort of constant iteration of submission because, obviously they want you to draw well, but because it's about practice, they care very much about the quantity. So it really does depend on what course you're taking.
Awesome, thanks. We have a question that just came in. What are your goals after finishing the program career-wise, and do you feel prepared for them? And that's okay if you don't have an exact idea.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff are you hoping to get into, and what kind of stuff do you think you are learning here that's going to benefit you later on?
Yeah. Well, so I know that I want to be a character artist. One of the advantages that I've had since I got here is I've been able to sort of tailor my curriculum towards doing that, as opposed to trying to figure out where I want to specialize, tech art, environment art, character art, concept art, etc., animation rigging. So, some of the stuff that other people have taken just because it doesn't fit my criteria, I don't have to take that, and that's been very helpful. So my goals have been pretty set from the get-go, and do I feel prepared? Yes and no. I feel prepared because, in the sense that when I got here, I didn't know how to sort of improve my skills and tailor my portfolio to what the industry wanted to see. And I definitely know how to do that now. I have plans over the summer for projects that I'm going to do to sort of build out my portfolio and demonstrate the breadth and width of my capabilities. But right now, a lot of the projects that are there are just not quite what the industry wants to see. So that's kind of the downside, is when you're working on your assignments, a lot of times you're trying to tackle new technical ideas or conceptual ideas, and it can be hard to do that and jump the hurdle of making it, applicable to a specific studio or a specific genre of project. And you don't want to jump 2 hurdles at once. So if I had to find a job right now, it would be a little bit difficult just because, Bungie or Activision, et cetera, don't quite want to see what I have in my portfolio, but I definitely know how to get to that point.
Yeah. So as far as my personal goals for when I finish the program, I've always considered life to be about learning. So, and I had a great painting teacher who gave me a bit of advice, which is all things inform the other. And what I liked about coming to this school was that even if I know that I'm not really that interested in like lighting or texturing per se, I'm still going to learn a lot about the effects of light that I can transfer into like this whole like digital painting and digital illustration, which I do love. So as far as a career goes, what I like is the variety of generalist kind of knowledge that you pick up here that you can apply to, like, for Geoff, he's talking about bigger major studios like Bungie and all these other places, but I consider like smaller studios sort of my goal, just because I'll have more opportunities to use the vast variety of skills that I picked up here, like a little bit of rigging, some lighting, some modeling, and if I can do concept art, again, because illustration, but would be fantastic. But yeah, as far as do I feel prepared? Well, I'm only a first year. So while I don't feel like ready to jump on the road and go, I do feel like I've picked up enough basic material to have a solid foundation that I can then later expound upon of my own time and of my own volition. And I feel like at that point, yeah, I totally would feel prepared.
Thank you. All right, so we have just about 1 more minute. Are there any last minute questions that any of you want to ask our students before they head out? It does go fast. Looks like we are okay. I don't see any chats coming in just yet. So if you have any questions, oh, sorry, one more question. Do you feel your portfolio has evolved since applying?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Yeah, in a word, yes. If you've never touched 3D software, then you're going to want to jump in and put some 3D software in there just because it's like, oh, wow, ZBrush, it's amazing. And of course I'm going to make stuff with this now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My portfolio when I first got here was somewhere between a mess and non-existent. I had used Maya. I had practiced a little bit in creating normal maps, I think mostly using Mudbox. but there was definitely nothing strong enough to really get anybody's attention professionally. And since then I've just jumped headfirst into ZBrush. I've basically developed my own professional grade pipeline for creating assets. And yeah, it's definitely come a very long way. And now sort of the tailoring that I have to do isn't so much in the quality of the execution, it's in the subject matter.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Those are some great questions that we got in. So thank you for chatting those in, and thank you to both of our students.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them go now, but if you have any questions for them, just feel free to email them to me, and I'm always happy to pass them along. They're busy with finals right now, but I'm sure that they'd be happy to answer as soon as they're able to. So feel free to chat those in at any time, or email me rather. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you guys. Good luck with your finals.
Thanks.
So we just have about 10 more minutes in our session. So the last thing that I want to go over today is some information about our tuition and our financial aid options. So let's see, I think we have... Okay, sorry, just wanted to check what we had here. So we do have some scholarships for our students that are available. You can find our tuition information on our website. So if you want some specifics on that, you can find both our domestic and our international costs for that. You can see our flat rate as well as our per credit costs. So you're welcome to find that on our website. If you have any trouble, as always, just let me know and I'm happy to help you find that. And in terms of what kind of aid options we have, I know that can be a little bit trickier once you get at the grad level to find financial aid. So we really want to be able to help you figure out that piece of the puzzle. So you'll see that we do have some merit-based scholarships, and those scholarships are typically going to be based off of your GPA and your portfolio. Those are going to be the biggest pieces that they're looking at for your merit-based. And you'll see that about 2 to 3 students are awarded that each year, and then they are awarded different numbers depending on the skill, depending on what your portfolio and your GPA look at. Our board get to decide basically what they feel is deserved, and so the range is typically from about $7,000 to $10,000 per student per year, and that's going to be for the 2 years there. So you'll be able to have that replenished for the 2 years over. So if you are wanting to get more information about that, you can find that on our website, and you can figure out how you can be eligible for that and some of the things that they're looking for. If you want to contact them directly, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm always happy to get you in touch with them. And then you'll see that there are also some links below that description of our scholarship. Those are just a couple different resources for you to check out if you're wanting to find other scholarships that might be something that you could use for this program. And then we also have some graduate loans. So all students are eligible for the direct graduate unsubsidized Stafford loan, and that's going to be regardless of your income and assets. So the students who receive this one are going to be responsible for paying interest on the loan, and that's going to be during as well as the time after college. And you have to be enrolled in at least half time, so that would be 6 credits per year for this unsubsidized loan. And then you also see that we have the direct graduate plus loan, and that is a federally backed student loan, and that's going to be guaranteed by the U.S. government. And then that one can be used to pay for the total cost of education, and that is going to be largely dependent on the borrower's credit and financial history. So that's going to be a little bit more need-based rather than the other one that we talked about before. So if you have any other questions with that, we do have a full page on that on our website talking all about our financial aid and talking about all the different opportunities and contact information for them. And you can also find that on the last page. Sorry, I have one more that I forgot about. So you can see that at the end there. And then the other opportunity for you to learn a little bit more information is our Student Shadow Program. So the Student Shadow Program is a chance for you to come to DigiPenn and go to a class or two with a student in the MFA program. So you got that little snippet from our current students today, but none of the people on our admissions team actually went to DigiPenn, and we understand that that's a very unique experience. And so we want to offer you that opportunity to be able to speak with them and really get their perspective. So if you have any questions for a current student, or if you want to sit in on a class and see how that feels and see if that is a good fit for you, please feel free to sign up for our Student Shadow program. You can do that on our website, and we are always happy to work with you to get that schedule worked out. I believe we do still have some classes that are offered for master's students during the summer, but it's going to be far less. And if you're looking for more of the DigiPen experience, I would advise taking a look at that during the fall, when we'll have a lot more opportunities for you to take different types of classes and really see what student life is like during the regular term. So here's that contact information page that I've referenced a few times. I'm going to leave this up here for a minute there so you can take down any information that you'd like. You can see we have the Office of Financial Aid, our admissions office. You can also see different email addresses. Mark's number and email are on the bottom there. So you can see on that bottom right, that's how you can contact Mark. And if you ever want to call me directly, I can be reached at that admissions line. You can always just ask for Natalie Grenfell, or you can also just switch the last 2 digits in that to 5041 instead of 5001. And then I'm also just going to type my email address. You've all received my emails before, that's why you're here, but I'm just going to go ahead and send this to you so that you are able to email me if you have any other questions as well. Do any of you have any last minute questions before we end our session today? I'm going to give you just a couple seconds to chat those in. I have a question. What is the turnaround time for responses to the application and portfolio review? Great question. So typically it's going to be roughly 2 to 4 weeks. We have less applicants for our master's programs than we do for our undergraduate one. So oftentimes you can see a turnaround in a little bit less time for that. But that's the baseline that I would recommend, is planning for about 2 to 4 weeks. And our application deadline for our graduate program is July 1st. So be sure to get all of your materials in by July 1st, and that will give you that chance to have all the adequate amount of time you need to have that reviewed. And make sure that you're starting your application a little bit early as well. We advise starting that around now, maybe around June at the latest, because it can take some time to make sure you're getting all of your transcripts in, all of your portfolio pieces. Every one of those required materials has to be in by July 1st, and they're willing to look at it a little bit after, but we really try to encourage you to have it in by then, because it does take some time, and school starts typically in the end of August or beginning of September. So that's some good stuff to start thinking about. Any other questions before we head out today? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Thank you guys so much for participating today. I know it's a lot of information to process. I hope it was useful for you. And if there is anything that we didn't cover today that you're still wondering about, or if there's another resource on campus that you'd like to speak with or talk a little bit more individualized questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, Mark is always happy to look at portfolios. And we also have graduate program preview days too. So if you ever wanted to come on campus, we offer daily tours Monday through Friday, and then we do have those preview days, which are events on a Saturday, where you can talk to faculty members and current students and admissions and a lot of other people, and while you're able to still see the campus as well. So lots of different resources for you. I know this is a huge decision, and it's a lot to process and a lot of information to get together. So if there's any way that I can ever help you, feel free to reach out. That's exactly what I'm here for, and I want to make that process a lot easier for you. So just let me know what I can do. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to talk to you soon, and I hope you have a good day or night wherever you are. I hope you enjoy the rest of it.